know this about varieties and trees before you plant. But the insurance mangoes are trees that if you spray them, they might do better. But if you don't spray them, they're not as susceptible to disease as not. So I'm going to mention the varieties of these trees. I have them here of the best trees to get that are considered insurance mangoes. Thing is, the newer varieties of mangoes are usually not always insurance mangoes, but they taste so much better. The family of lemon meringue, the children of lemon meringue, we have orange sherbet, which is an insurance mango. Angie is 2 thumbs up from an insurance mango standpoint here. So if you're growing trees and you don't want to spray, these are the ones you should consider. Again, I wish I would have known a lot of these things before I planted these trees, but we live and we learn. So even though your mangoes might not get diseases, they still might not be the best choice. Hello everybody, welcome to Fruitful Trees. The last video I did was about spraying trees. Should we spray trees or not spray trees? And I had a lot of comments to that. And today I'm going to talk about the varieties of mango trees to get that are less susceptible to disease. Now, Alex at Tropical Acres Farms has different categories as trees, and he called these trees insurance mangoes versus collector's mangoes. Now, the collector's mangoes are the ones that are questionable in how they grow, how well they grow here in South Florida. And those, if you're going to get those, if you don't spray those, you're in trouble. But the insurance mangoes are trees that if you spray them, they might do better. But if you don't spray them, they're not as susceptible to disease as not. And several of you have been asking, well, what trees are the trees to get? So the first thing I want to say is before we continue is, and get into this list is, I am in South Florida, and this list is for South Florida. I don't know the growing conditions for California, for Hawaii, or even for North Florida. And even here in South Florida, things can change dramatically from where I am closer to the coast as to you go inland. So I am telling you what works for my yard, and I'm close to Tropical Acres. So what works for them often works for me as well. But even there's still some differences. Even my yard and my neighbor's yard, there's some differences. But for the most part, that's where I'm located. And this is what I'm going to talk about when I mention these trees. Because some of these insurance mangoes that I'm talking about are insurance mangoes for me in my area. But if you go inland, they're not going to be considered insurance mangoes. So if you want a more detailed list or understanding about what mango trees grow best in other parts of Florida, you're best to check with Alex at Tropical Acres Farms, or ask me in the comments below, and when I do a Q&A, I can ask him. We do live Q&As, and we could always discuss it then. Another thing to discuss is the things that'll keep our trees from getting disease, or how we can help them from getting disease, no matter what trees you have, whether they're insurance mango or a collector's mango. And this is something I talk about a lot on this channel that people don't like to hear all the time. But the more space you have between trees, the less chance they are of getting a disease. And the reason why is airflow. The more airflow, the less chance that the trees will suffer from certain diseases that are airborne. On that same note, when you prune a tree, especially the inside of the tree every year, it lets the airflow go through the tree better. So things like that are definitely going to help regardless of what tree you have. If you take care of your trees like that, it does make a difference. And another thing is I'm going to give you the list of the best insurance mangoes as of now, but this list is always changing. Because every year, some diseases are worse than other diseases. Because some of the trees on this list and some trees in general haven't been studied as much as other trees. So this is a yearly thing to see, well, what's going to work. But the list I'm going to give you is the insurance mangoes that Alex at Tropical Acres Farms has found over the more recent times, meaning several years, of what produces the best for him on a consistent basis. Now, he sprays all his trees on his farm at Tropical Acres Farms. He has a personal property, and I did a video with him that I'll post below in his own backyard. And he says that place, he doesn't always have time to spray. So he wanted to make 100% sure that the trees in his backyard were mostly insurance mangoes in case he didn't have time to get to his backyard mangoes. And that's where a big majority of my list came from in my studying and my research. And I asked a lot of people recently on Facebook and other places, do you spray and what trees do better than other trees and so on? And I got a lot of replies, but Alex says, these are the ones that are growing well in my yard and so on. Now, when we talk about a disease, that's also always changing because there's always new diseases. So there was a time when oranges grew really well here in South Florida, but then there became some diseases and the citrus doesn't do well here anymore. So when we talk about what's affecting trees, remember, this is for now, 2025. This can get better, it can get worse, and it can change. And some of the things are right now is powdery mildew is the first thing we need to look at every year. And for this, people often spray sulfur. Now, a lot of people spray different things that they experiment with and nutritional sprays, trying to keep it as healthy as possible. Some people spray nothing. But powdery mildew, and I'll show you an example on one or two of the trees today of what it looks like. It stops the flowers from turning into a fruit or producing a fruit. And because it gets this grayness on top of them and on the stems of the flowers, and that stops it from growing. So for powdery mildew, people spray sulfur. Now, most people that are spraying sulfur are commercial growers. Most private growers do not spray sulfur. And one of the things is, even if they do, there must be an agitator or a shaker in the pump that they're spraying with. Otherwise, the sulfur is going to sink to the bottom because it's a wettable sulfur. It's sulfur powder mixed with water, and it sinks to the bottom unless you have an agitator, I think they call it, to keep the pump moving. So most people don't have a pump that sophisticated. Now, some people that are growing mangoes on Facebook actually do have that, and they're able to do that in their yard. And if you're going to spray sulfur, you need to do that. Otherwise, you got to shake it up a lot, and it gets complicated where most people will give up doing it after a while. So sulfur is one thing to spray for. And powdery mildew some years affects trees worse than other years. So last year, 2024's crop got hit really bad. And most people didn't get many mangoes. And again, there are some varieties that are much more susceptible to powdery mildew than other diseases. Now, another thing is called anthracnose. Anthracnose is something that will get on the fruit. It can get on the stems of the trees where they turn black, and it could stop fruit from in the flower stage, or even later on, it can mess with the fruit. And what people often spray for anthracnose is copper. And there are different types of copper, and there are also some non-copper fungal sprays that people spray. Some are organic, some are not, but that helps with the sulfur. So normally, once the little baby mango appears, you don't need to spray for powdery mildew anymore, the sulfur, but you need to spray the copper to control the anthracnose or prevent the anthracnose. And the thing is, once you see powdery mildew, it's not going to help with sulfur. If it's already there, it's there. Now, it can help stop it from spreading, but once you got it, you got it. Some people say there's some things that'll get rid of it, other things, but sulfur is not one of them once you get it. So now with copper, you don't need an agitator, and you don't need to shake it up. You just mix it with water, and it's much more easier to use in a homegrown environment other than a commercial environment, since you don't have to get that special pump. And more people do spray for copper, but it's still not something it's still questionable how toxic it is. And definitely the non-fungicidal copper or substitute that some people spray is pretty toxic stuff. So goes back to yesterday's video, or the video I did the other day about spraying. Now, another thing that's newer in South Florida, and only in certain areas is bacterial black spot. Bacterial black spot is something we're experiencing here on the coast here in South Florida, on the East Coast. Whereas in Miami, down in Homestead, they're not getting the black spot like they are up here presently. Up north, they're not getting it like they're getting it here presently. So that's what I said. Things are always changing, and this is for now. So for black spot, I know copper is something that'll help, but there might be some other things. But if you have a variety of a tree that's susceptible to black spot, that's something you want. That's why it's good to learn from the experts like Alex at Tropical Acres Farms, who gets to see what he's growing and through experience knows what varieties every year are more susceptible to the black spot and these things. But again, that's in his area. So we always want to consider what area we're in. So besides just spraying for those diseases and new diseases that might come along or exist, you also want to look at what varieties are doing best where. Again, how far you're spacing the tree or not spacing the tree. Are you cutting the center of the trees out? These are all things to consider. So I'm going to mention the varieties of these trees. I have them here of the best trees to get that are considered insurance mangoes. And I'll go here to one of mine. Now, the thing is, the newer varieties of mangoes are usually not always insurance mangoes, but they taste so much better. Gary Zill has a program where he has all these new mangoes out, and they just seem to have a weaker tolerance to disease. And understand, some trees might be strong against anthracnose, but not do well with powdery mildew, or vice versa. So you really have to, you should know the trees you're planting before you plant them, or you want to plant before you plant them for your situation and for what you want to do. So keep that in mind. So before you plant, know this. That would be maybe a good title for this. Know this about varieties and trees before you plant. However, some of the highly resistant varieties, in my opinion, just don't taste well at all. But taste is subjective because some people like them, but I don't. So these are things to consider when you're planting trees for this time now and for where you're located now. And I'll do my best to give you as much information as possible from the tremendous amount of research that I do, always trying to figure out what is best and learn from my mistakes and don't make your own mistakes, because I planted things based on taste and flavor, and I honestly did not consider how highly susceptible many of these trees are to disease. Bacterial black spot is the one thing I did consider, and I didn't consider the powdery mildew or the copper. And now I wish I did, but thankfully I made many wise choices. So, shut up, Paul, and get into the list. Get to the list. That's all we want is the list. All right, here's the list. So, this behind me, and I haven't met most of a lot of these trees. This tree behind me is, as a matter of fact, I'll turn the camera around and talk about these. How's that sound? Okay, these mangoes are in no particular order, but I have most of the trees, so I'll point them out. This tree was a Duncan mango tree. Duncan mango tree is excellent producer. Definitely an insurance mango. Does great with disease, and that's why I planted it. However, I don't like the way it tastes, so I top worked it to a sunrise, and it's about 50-50 of each right now. But sunrise itself is a good insurance mango as well when it comes to anthracnose, from what I understand. And I could be wrong about these things, so don't take my word for this 100%. Research it, but with every mango I'm talking about. But Duncan and Sunrise. Here's another one I have. This one is an M4. Now this is a late season mango and tastes like coconut. Good producer, very good producer. M4, and you can see here. Now I started to spray my trees this year, powdery mildew and copper, but I don't think I'm going to continue. So I can see how they do. And it's only the second year I've ever sprayed, really. So that's the M4. And coming around here, I'm going to come around to the other side to show you this one. This one is truly an amazing mango. Alrighty. This one here, look at that. Loaded this year. This is lemon meringue. So write these down, folks. No particular order here. I'm just going through my trees. But this is lemon meringue, an insurance mango, and the family of lemon meringue, the children of lemon meringue. We have orange sherbet, which is an insurance mango. It's loaded right there. Again, I did start to spray this year, so I don't know how much of a difference that made or makes. But that's orange sherbet. And now there's another one from this same family called lemon zest, which I don't recommend. Definitely not an insurance mango. It's a collector's mango, and I don't recommend it. My neighbor's yard here has an Angie. Angie is an insurance mango. It's hanging over my fence here. I have some Angie trees as well. Loaded. Angie is 2 thumbs up from an insurance mango standpoint here on the east coast of South Florida. There's my neighbor's pineapple pleasure. Definitely not an insurance mango. Collector's mango that has its issues. That's pineapple pleasure. I have one as well. If I had to do it all over again with my limited space, probably wouldn't plant pineapple pleasure, but definitely would plant Angie. Alrighty, here's the next tree up. This is CAC. C-A-C. CAC. This is an insurance mango, a great producer, and highly disease resistant where I am. And unlike the Duncan, this one tastes amazing. I love the flavor of the CAC. Now, here's the thing though. I don't have a lot of space. CAC is a humongous tree. It grows really, really tall. Or as Alex says, highly vigorous. So CAC is one you have to consider. Even though it's an insurance mango, and even if you want to trim them, you want to consider the spacing. How much space you have. That's CAC. Now, I'm not going to get into all of the non-insurance mangoes, but if I don't mention it, it didn't make the list for a reason. But this one is a sugarloaf, not an insurance mango. Even though this year, this tree is doing wonderful. It has more fruits on here than ever before, which I'm pleasantly surprised because this tree often gives too many male flowers and not enough female flowers. This year's doing great. That's a sugarloaf, not an insurance mango. Here's an insurance mango, which is actually Alex's favorite tasting mango. This is a sweet tart. Sweet tart. They call this the branch breaker because it gets so many mangoes every year that it literally breaks branches. And I've seen it break my neighbor's branches big time. Sweet tart. An insurance mango. Here is lemon zest. Not an insurance mango, and a candidate for me to top work at the end of this season. I still have some mangoes up there, but the reason why this isn't an insurance mango is it's highly susceptible here in East Coast, South Florida, to bacterial black spot, which means once the mangoes grow, they like literally turn black and go to waste and fall off before you can pick them, before they're ready to be eaten. So it's not a good tree to have from that standpoint. The ironic thing is it's probably the best tasting mango out there. It tastes like a lemon meringue times 10. It's so great. Or actually they taste very similar, but it's like a big lemon meringue. Okay. I'm not just going over my trees, because there are some insurance mangoes on a list that I don't have. And I'll get to the list and I'll let you know. This tree here is another Angie, and it's mixed with Fairchild. Fairchild is another insurance mango. So Angie and Fairchild, both trees don't grow too big. They're not dwarfs, but they don't grow too big. Okay. So if you're growing trees and you don't want to spray, these are the ones you should consider here in South Florida on the East Coast. The number one insurance mango for every reason, except flavor maybe, is this one. This is Pickering. Pickering is a dwarf tree, and great producer, highly disease resistant. For some reason, everyone loves the flavor except me. I don't like the flavor. The only reason I have the tree is because my wife likes the flavor, but that's Pickering mango. Actually, I have two trees, and that's an insurance mango. Here's another one. I don't like the flavor too, but I had the tree and I haven't taken it out yet. And I might not, considering it's an insurance mango. This one's called Coggshore or Cogg's Hole. Coggshore or Cogg's Hole. Beautiful looking mango. But some years they do taste better than others from what I hear. Because Mike at Trees and More told me this tastes great. But I have a little one here, so that's Cogg's Hole. Now I'm going to go next door to Mango Land, and we can look at some more of the mangoes there. Okay, as we're making our way over to Mango Land to look at the trees I have there, write these down, these mango trees. Again, know what you're going to plant before you plant them. That'll save you a lot of time. And we'll see what we're growing here. Again, I wish I would have known a lot of these things before I planted these trees, but we live and we learn. All right? And this doesn't mean it's perfect. This just means you have a less chance of getting diseases. So if you're choosing not to spray, these might be your better choices. So here we go. Okay. This is another variety on the list. This one's called Neelam. And a very late variety. Supposed to do really well with being susceptible to disease. And again, some years, the diseases like powdery mildew and things are a lot worse than other years. So here's another thing to consider. This Neelam is a tree that might do well with diseases. However, they tend to, at least for me, they tended to not ripen evenly, which is a common trait. So even though your mangoes might not get diseases, they still might not be the best choice for those reasons. Neelam tastes great. It's a smaller mango. It's a late season mango. It's an insurance mango, according to Alex. And it's kind of ironic. Remember I told you I'd show you what powdery mildew looks like this year. This has some powdery mildew. If you could see the grayness on there. And some varieties, even with powdery mildew, like Namdek Mai is a common one, it won't affect the mango growth. It'll still grow even though it has powdery mildew. But this one, this year, pretty much got powdery mildew, even though I sprayed with sulfur. And that's what it looks like. See, it's like white, gray. But look, the mango still grew through. But this is Neelam. Now, here's another thing to consider if you're growing mangoes. In this pot here, I have an unnamed mango. I don't know what it is. I bought an ice cream mango, but it turns out it's not an ice cream. I could tell by the leaves. I didn't want to put it in the ground because I wanted to see first what it was. But when you're getting unnamed mango trees, you have to be careful if you're really trying to get one that's not a mango tree that's going to turn into a highly disease-prone tree. So keep that in mind. Definitely one I don't recommend planting. Unfortunately, it's my favorite tasting or in my top mango tastings. This one's ice cream. Not a good producer. In general, not a good producer. There's one here. And some people like the flavor and it produces okay for them. But regardless, if it's definitely not insurance mango. But regardless, it's not a good producer. All right, next on the list is my favorite tasting late season variety, and it is an insurance mango. And this one is called Honey Kiss. Honey Kiss, an excellent variety, an excellent tree. Highly recommend it. As a matter of fact, this area is kind of tight with trees, and I'm thinking I want to definitely this honey kiss to be the star of this area, so I might actually figure out what to do with the other trees that are close, because I want this honey kiss to be the star of this area, and I don't want it to get shaded out or anything, but this is a great variety, Honey Kiss. Okay, here's our next variety, Pineapple Pleasure, not an insurance mango. And we already discussed this. It was in my neighbor's yard. Not one I would recommend planting, but tastes amazing. It's a collector's mango. If you're into collecting mangoes and you want to spray trees, this is a tree. But if you're not going to spray trees, one I don't recommend. There's our Angie, doing excellent insurance mango. Highly recommended. All right, here's another insurance mango. This one is called Ceci Love. Ceci Love. Good insurance mango. This one is ice cream. Don't recommend that. Here's another late season insurance mango. This is called Carla. Now this tree grows super big. Very vigorous tree. Called Carla. And behind it is my neighbor's down duck pine tree, which is it has its issues, but this tree's doing great right now. It's loaded. Sometimes the fruit splits there. That's not an insurance mango. I don't think so, but Carla is an insurance mango. And again, this is from my research. I could be wrong. I could have misheard Alex. So verify all of this if you're set on getting one of these varieties. Here's another one that I believe Alex said was an insurance mango. This is the first year I'm getting fruit on this. This is Edgar. Edgar. So I'm excited. My first fruit on this tree. Edgar. Here I have another Pickering. Look at that. Loaded. Pickering. Much bigger, much older tree. That's Pickering. Then there's another Sweet Tart. And in this video, I'm not going through all my trees. I'm just going through the insurance ones that I have, and then I'll complete the list for you. Here's another one. This is called Buttercream. Buttercream. I believe Alex said this was an insurance mango. Now, this is a great tasting one, but highly susceptible to powdery mildew. This one is called white Paris. White Paris. And this year it looks pretty decent. It did okay last year without any spray, but not an insurance mango. There's another sunrise mango tree. Looking great. Okay, I really hope this list is helping you of the insurance mangoes that we have growing on here. And I will go through the full list that I have right now as of 2025 insurance mangoes that I have found here to be the mangoes you want to plant if you're new to planting mango trees. 2025 here. Again, this is in my area, South Florida and the East Coast. And it might be different because there's one on the list called Dwarf Hawaiian. Dwarf Hawaiian is an insurance mango here where I live. But if you go inland like 5 miles, it's not an insurance mango. Another thing to consider with insurance mangoes that do well in the ground without spray or anything. And Dwarf Hawaiian and the inland, it doesn't grow as well because when it's high humidity, the trees can be higher susceptible to anthracnose and have other issues. So where I live here in West Palm Beach, Florida, or Lake Worth, Florida, I have no issues with Dwarf Hawaiian. However, if you head out to like Loxahatchee, which is 10 miles, 5 to 10 miles west of me, a lot of these varieties won't grow well. So they're not insurance mangoes for out there, but Dwarf Hawaiian would be one of them. Another one we haven't mentioned yet would be Floragon. Floragon is a mango that I don't prefer the taste of it, but it's supposed to be an excellent producing tree that is highly disease resistant. So that's another one, and some people like that. Mana Chinook is, or Maha Chinook is one that a lot of people enjoy that is supposed to be highly disease resistant. Would be considered an insurance mango. And I think we went through a lot of them. I think possibly if I got the list right, USDA Hemsinger might be on there. That's one that Alex has. I can't check my phone because I'm recording on my phone. I'll put in the list. I'll put this full list in the description below to help you. How's that? I'll put this all in the full list to help you in the description below. Now, if you've tasted these mangoes or have not tasted these mangoes, it's another thing. Before you buy a mango tree, I recommend you taste them. So here's the thing. If you're going to get mango trees in 2025, these would be the ones to consider. If you're looking for just mangoes beyond being a collector, if you just want your insurance mangoes and you want to make sure you're getting them in the ground, I'll put that list below. Now, I also recommend tasting the mangoes before you do, and Tropical Acres Farms and many of the other growers will sell and ship mangoes in the mail. So during the season, during mango season, you can order online. I have some of my varieties that if I fill up my freezers and I completely load them up and I have extra, I might make some for sale as well. But taste as many varieties as you can, and don't just go off your first taste before you make your final decision that if you want to grow that or not. Make sure you taste it several times before you make your final decision. Also, depending when you're watching this, every year here in South Florida, we have a mango festival. And this year, it's going to be on June 29th, Sunday in West Palm Beach. We're going to have the Florida Mango Festival. It's going to be in West Palm Beach at the Convention Center. Look in the description below for the website. Florida Mango Fest, the festival. We're going to have on display over 200 mangoes to see. But we are going to have a mango tasting there as well. And many of the vendors are going to have mangoes there for sale and also samples. So plus speakers and everything else you want to get to Florida Mango Fest. And for all over Florida, all over the country, all over the world. It's right near the West Palm Beach Airport. So excited about this event. And there's hotels nearby. So come in from out of town, make a weekend of it, and enjoy Mango Fest. I hope this list was very beneficial to you. And by the way, that's this year. Next year and the years after we have it, check the website for all the updates on that. All right, everybody, that's the list I would recommend. As I said at the beginning of the video, some of the trees, you want to look at the distance of them. Because if you plant them too close, even though you can prune them, because people say, I'll just prune, it helps with airflow. Pruning is important, especially the inside of the tree, but space-wise of how you planted the tree. From my thinking, and this is just my thinking, if a tree has 20 feet around it and is completely open to the sun and all these different things, it's going to do much better than if a tree has a tree 10 feet right next to it and they're growing into each other. It's going to have less of a chance of getting a disease if it has that open space. So keep that in mind when you're planting your trees. All right, everybody, thank you for watching. I'm excited about mango season. And like me, if you've made the mistakes and planted some collector's mangoes, if you decide to spray and you want to spray and you don't care about that, what I have to say about that, then go ahead and do the best job you can do and enjoy your mangoes. All right, everybody, thank you, and thank you for subscribing. Put your comments and questions below. I'll put my most updated list in the comments below. Cut and paste it, share it with others, and if there's any I missed, I'll put them in there as well. The known insurance mangoes. And lastly, I'll say is if you decide, a mango shouldn't be on a list because it just does terrible for you, yes, spraying will definitely help not suffer from disease. Your trees you'll get more mangoes if you spray. That's not a debatable question. You'll get more mangoes if you spray your trees. Will you get the same amount or a lot less or no mangoes if you don't spray? There's only one real way to find out. And that might change year after year. So these insurance mangoes are not guarantees. They're just better chances. So keep that in mind. Don't say, I listened to Paul and I got this and it's not doing well. But also, give it other years, it might do better. Some diseases are higher in certain years than others. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Have a great day and keep growing.